So right now, if you notice, people who have YouTube channels, no matter what form that they use on an exercise, someone is fucking hating on it. So I want to really make a video discussing this. And the thing is, it's so good for new beginners and newbies in the gym that they follow a very structured workout which has the basic form intertwined into that workout, meaning that they get the main compound movements and they use it with perfect form. So obviously, a person who's just new to the gym, it's going to be amazing for you to work on your flexibility on the squats and be able to develop a nice, strong, deep squat where you use perfect form. The same with the bench press, where you get taught about heel placement, elbow placement, shoulder placement, all that. However, after you train for a certain number of years, this varies for every single person. Different people can sort of get in tune with their body at different stages. But what's the most important thing about form is that if you follow the basic textbook form, that's usually going to keep you the safest. But once you've progressed to a certain level and you start to notice the way your body works and different things that you like, then it's time to start experimenting with your training and figuring out what works best for you. There's too many fucking people hating on so many different types of forms, but I bet you if they showed you their physique, it's not going to be very good. And if you notice the type of people who are like hating on people's form, if you clicked on their channel, they usually don't have any pictures of their physiques or videos of their physiques. It's usually these guys who are new to lifting and they think the textbook form is fucking everything. But I want to really clarify this and clear this up, and I don't want to hear your fucking bullshit on my videos. I know what I'm fucking doing for myself and I take full responsibility for what I do. So whenever you see me doing heavy barbell or dumbbell cheat curls, it's not because I've got a big fucking ego. I don't care what weight I'm lifting. My intention is always to overload that muscle. And I notice that that's what works best for me because I've been training for a good number of years and I've noticed that's whenever I get the best results. Some days I know my body wants to go for a higher rep workout. Other days my body wants to train and do a very low rep workout regardless of the exercise. So I train the way I train because I've noticed over time that that's what works best for my body. So whenever it comes down to form, if you notice, a lot of people have different styles of forms for so many different exercises. You'll see some pro bodybuilders, whenever they do the squat, they only do the upper portion of it, the upper quarter, meaning they don't even come down to parallel and they're pressing and locking out at the top. You'll see other pros that only focus on the top half of the portion, but they don't even lock out at the top. They sort of come down to halfway and come up and keep constant tension on the quads. And then you'll see other bodybuilders that go through the full range of motion. They go ass to the grass and get a full lockout at the top. What's the reason for this? Any person who has a logical mindset will realize that all those different bodybuilders have worked out that different types of squats work differently for what they're trying to do for their body. That's the same with every single person. If you notice, for people who have been training for a long time, does anyone remember whenever you were told, whenever you were doing a barbell or a dumbbell bench, only come to 90 degrees? So whenever you're coming down, that your elbow only comes to 90 degrees with your body. People used to not fucking touch their chest whenever they did a barbell bench. They used to come down and press up, and they were getting half of the range of motion that most people are getting nowadays. So understand that there's different fucking, not necessarily myths, but there's sort of training principles that people have put in place which aren't, they're not even fully tested. It's just what people have noticed that they've done and they've sort of influenced other people. So whenever you read someone's book where they may talk about form, that if you bought 4 different bodybuilding books where they taught you about form, everyone's is going to be slightly different. But what's the most important thing is that you figure out what works for yourself. If you notice, whenever Arnold Schwarzenegger did his dumbbell flies, he came right down, way beyond parallel with his body. He didn't bring the dumbbell down to whenever his elbows were in line with his shoulders. He didn't bring it down to where his hands were in line with his shoulders. He brought it right down and fully stretched out the pec. He said the reason for this is that he found that it widened his chest. Now, regardless of what reason you're doing it for, if you find that it's giving you great benefits, then keep fucking doing it. As long as you're developing no pain or any type of injury, then keep doing it. So whenever sometimes I like to do constant tension on the barbell bench and I'll only do the bottom half of the movement. Sometimes I like to get a full lockout and I'll get a full lockout on the movement. It's the same for any different exercise. Whenever I'm doing dumbbell curls, I might use a bit of a swing, but I am so well warmed up. I'm so in tune with my body and I keep my body nice and safe. Whenever I swing it, there's no joint that's getting flicked around. My back's not out of place. Everything's tight and controlled. And that's how I get my results. So I want to, first of all, explain to people and stop fucking sending me messages about this shit. I don't give a fuck what you think. If you're, obviously, I appreciate everyone who's supporting the channel and messaging me and giving me constructive criticism. However, for people who are just form fucking Nazis, they're so focused on the way that you have to do a certain set out form, you need to focus on yourself, and if that's what's working for you, you find doing, a certain type of squat or bench, you keep that to yourself and you continue to do so. But for me and where I'm at and the experience that I've had, I noticed different styles of training work best for me. If I took on a new client and I was training them and they hadn't lifted a fucking day in the gym, I'm going to teach them textbook form. I'm going to really teach them how to do the perfect form. However, if I've been training that client for a year, or however long it is, and they've started to really progress significantly, and they find that they say that they find a different style of training works for them. Well, this is where a good personal trainer comes into play. You don't want to inflict your views on them and have them only to have your views on training. You want them to figure out what works best for their body, because everybody's body is completely different. So if you're a good trainer, what you'll try and do is help that person figure out what works best for them. So there's so many different styles of training, and you got to experiment with that person and show them what works for them. Some people are going to blow up in size by doing high volume workouts. Some people, whenever they do short, high intensity burst workouts, they pack on size. Everybody's fucking different, and you have to figure out what works for you, which is the second part of this video. And the second point that I need to make is that you gotta figure out what works for you. You gotta experiment with using constant tension on the barbell bench. You gotta experiment with going maybe a bit deeper on your dumbbell flies, and you might find out something so new about yourself, and this whole different feeling that you get whilst training that muscle. So there you have it, guys. Stay safe. Stay smart. Whenever you're trying a new exercise or a new type of form, go way lighter and make sure it works for you. There you have it.